And now, if I can get to, we shall do the Scout Oath and Law. Scout sign. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, hopeful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. 2. You may be seated.
Well, I see my name on the screen, so that must be my cue, huh? All right, great. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. I see that we've got, about 80 people and growing that have logged into our virtual Cub Scout Roundtable. Thanks for joining us. First and foremost, I hope that you and your family are healthy and well. It goes without saying that we are living through an unprecedented and difficult time right now. And many of us face challenges of various kinds, whether it's with work, it's with family, it's with members of our family who might be ill. And with all that, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your leadership in scouting. I want to thank we want to take a few minutes to talk about summer camp for this summer and what we know and also what we don't know. But I do want to thank more than 230 people that completed our online survey about camps that we sent out in the Friday email. If you haven't already done so, I put the link in the chat. You'd have to scroll up in the chat. You could find it there, or you could find it in Friday's email. That survey will be active, I think, through the end of this week. As we consider all the possible scenarios for camp, which has been very complex with all the regulations and rules and a lot of things we're learning on a day-to-day basis, first and foremost, the safety of all of our scouts, of you, our volunteers, and also our employees is the Narragansett Council's top priority. We want to provide safe, quality scouting experiences for our kids. And as such, we've been taking a very careful, informed approach in evaluating whether to run summer camp programs this year, and if so, how they could be run. And we've been continually monitoring the situation. We've been exploring various program scenarios and consulting with health experts, our government officials, and other camp professionals. I was asked to serve on a Rhode Island advisory group on summer camp operations, and I and some other leaders from other organizations that run camps have been participating in that. So I don't know how the summer is actually going to shake out. None of us do. None of us know how the summer is going to shake out, but I do know this, that camp will not happen this summer as we have known it in the past. The ways in 2020. And that should not come as any surprise to you. There are a lot of regulations that have come through both by the CDC and the state of Massachusetts and the state of Rhode Island, and other things are still being considered and haven't been resolved yet related to camps. And we're still waiting for more of that information, but we've received a lot of information. And in fact, just today, I received a document outlining 15 pages of rules and regulations for any type of summer activity that we may do. And most of those regulations would be on top of everything that we do already. After a thorough evaluation at this point in time, knowing that the situation changes, it will change, and things might change down the road, but we have concluded, based on the restrictions that we're being told that will be in place, we will not be able to offer or conduct on-site Cub Scout day camp or family camp at Camp Champlain, Camp Norris, or Camp Aquapog, and we will not be able to conduct our typical on-site organized scout camp at Camp Yagu. And I know that that comes as a disappointment to many, many people, including me and Tom and the entire staff of each of these camps that devotes so much to them. We will be doing alternative programming. We have been working over the last month and a half on 2 avenues of, one, if we're able to offer on-site programming at camp, what could that be to meet the rules and safety rules that we would need to do? But then we've also been working concurrently on, if we can't do on-site programming, what can we provide to scouts to help them enjoy scouting activities, to be able to advance in their advancement, whether Cub Scouts or Scouts BSA, to get them outside, because everyone's dying to get outside and no one wants to be cooped up in the summertime. And so we're working on opportunities to provide camp in a box and virtual camps with a combination of program materials that we would mail to scouts in advance, programs that to help get kids outside of their house that they can either do individually or with other scouts in their area, and supplemented that by virtual programming, recognizing that kids are probably already tired of virtual stuff, and they don't want to log on to lectures or anything like that, and we're not going to do that. We will be rolling out, though, some great program options in the next few weeks. We will continue to evaluate options for small groups to come to camps later in the summer, if we can do so in a safe manner. And we are also planning to offer a variety of fall weekend programs at Camp Yagu and Adventure Base Camp for Cub Scouts, if the situation at that time will allow it. And that's, of course, no one knows today, but we're all hopeful of that. So we can anticipate that in the fall, that we would be offering through all of September and October opportunities to come out for Saturday or Saturday, Sunday for Cub Scouts, and potentially a Friday, Saturday, Sunday for Scouts BSA for camp programs of some sort. Of course, the pandemic situation is evolving and the information changes daily. It's literally that we receive a flood of information on a daily basis. We're working closely with our local health department and with our health supervisor for the council and our risk management committee to make informed decisions as efficiently as we possibly can that will allow us to provide good programming, but also ensure the health and safety, not only of our scouts, but our staff and any volunteers that would be involved in those. And we are prepared to adjust our plans as the situation allows it or requires it. We do look forward to providing a full range of scouting programs as soon as we can and as the situation allows. And we want to make sure that we work cooperatively with all of our scout families to stay healthy and to stay positive in a very challenging situation. And we want to look forward to the day when we can all be together in a big group around the campfire at whichever camp it is. But that day is not today, and it's not in the next, it's not in the near future. And that is the reality that we face at the moment. And just to give you an idea, this is one little piece of what we're having to work with is anything that we would do at our camps right now. We're being told that through the end of August, every group would have to be under 10 or have to be 10 kids or less. And that's just the beginning of the restrictions that we would have to follow. And then there comes all kinds of concerns of how we maintain separation of groups, distancing of kids, separation from staff, and keep our staff safe and keep everyone's families. Because as you know, while there is a limited concern for kids with COVID, there are now some, unfortunately, some developing and worsening ideas in terms of some illnesses that kids in Connecticut and New York have unfortunately been faced with, including 5 children deaths in the last recent days, which is a tragic situation. But there's also the concern about families of scouts and families of staff members, that the kids and the staff members may not be subjected to the dangers of the virus, but it could be spread to their family members or other people that they interact with. And that's a major concern as well. And how would we prevent that from happening? So there is a whole range of things there. I wanted to give you the broad outline of where we're at this point in time. And I'm the first to tell you that these decisions have not been easy, and they have been constant in flux and change with the information that we have been receiving over the last 2 months, in particular the last few weeks. And it's been a constant thing for us, and we will adjust as we need to, but that's what our plans are right now. I'd like to ask Joram Northup, who is our program director, who oversees our Cub camping programs, to give you an idea of what we're looking at offering to all of your Cub Scouts for this summer. Joram, are you on?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Tim. So, like Tim mentioned, the health and safety of the campers and the families is really what's most important. And it's very unfortunate, and we all prefer to be out in the camps this summer. But we do feel that a, virtual camp program, really is the best way in this current situation to keep Cubs engaged and to, provide scouting this summer. So we don't have a full picture yet of what an at-home day camp is going to look like. There are a few things that we do know, same as our in-person day camps. We want the virtual day camp to be a high quality program. We want campers to be active, and we want to provide them with, fun and challenging things that they can do from home. We understand that everyone is tired of doing everything in this format, and it's especially difficult for younger Cub age kids. And the last thing that we want is a Cub Scout spending 8 hours a day in the middle of July, in front of a screen. So we want to make sure that the at-home day camp experience is hands-on and away from screens as much as possible. And again, we don't have all the details yet, but we do know a few things. Camp will not be a full day commitment. It'll likely still be a week-long session. But we want it to be fun and we want to keep Cubs engaged. So it's likely that in a day of at-home day camp will be something like 3 to 4 hours long. We really want to encourage that hands-on element. So we would start every day with everybody getting together. There would be opening ceremonies, same as in-person day camp. That would include a flag raising, some activities, and then everybody would break away into their dens. The dens would do some activities on their own, some short activities, and then they would get some direction for the day based on the different items that they are sent in the mail. So from there, they would go on and they would work on those adventures from home. There's a lot of fun hands-on projects Cubs can work on, whether it's in the home, in their yard, in their neighborhood. There'll be some camp classics, crafts, scout skills, nature activities, service projects, advancement opportunities, things like that. Toward the end of the day, we imagine that the campers will get together. They'll get a chance to interact with their den, share what they worked on that day, do some more activities together, flag lowering, closing ceremony, and everybody will be sent on their way. That's a very loose outline. We'll have all the details filled in soon. At the moment, our camp directors from Champlain, Norse, and Aquapog, they are working together. They're creating some really unique programs. They're meeting with other Cub leaders and parents to ask what they want to get out of this at-home day camp. And while it's not an ideal situation and it's not the day camp we're used to, we are excited to deliver camp program in a new way, and we're looking forward to rolling out some more details soon. So with that, I'll send it back to Tim.
Great, thank you, Joram, for that. A couple of things we are committed to is that the day camp experience we're going to provide is going to be scouting. It's not just going to be fun stuff. It will be fun, but it will be scouting things that will help teach kids good life skills and teach them great things. At one of our camps, there's also opportunities potentially that small groups of Cubs could get together and do the day camp experience together in their own home or neighborhood area. So there might be 2 or 3 or 4 Cubs that could get together and do Cub Scouts to do Cub day camp as a small group at their home or someone's home. And we also envision that those who register in advance would get a box of some stuff prior to the start of the camp, so they would have some stuff to work on. It wouldn't just be, again, all online. Our commitment as the Narragansett Council is that the Narragansett Council is known for outstanding camp programs. We are known throughout the nation for outstanding camp programs. We regret that it does not look like we're going to be able to do it on site. But what we are committed to is to offer the absolute highest quality camp experience we can in a different format. And we commit to you, we're going to provide the resources that the staff resources and the program resources to make sure that we provide a quality experience for your scouts and keep them engaged, keep them advancing, keep them ready to go in Cub Scouting come in the fall. And then ideally, we don't know exactly how the fall will shake out, but ideally then we will provide the opportunity in the fall to come for on-site activities and experiences at one or more of our camp properties. Now, that being said, I just want to give a quick update on the fact that I already saw on chat, there was a question about coming out to camps. The situation is evolving and will change over time. But what we know now is Massachusetts is still on a stay-at-home order through at least May 18th. And so that means our camps in Massachusetts and our store in Massachusetts are closed until at least that time. We have not seen the phase, the first phase of reopening for Massachusetts yet, so we don't know what will be allowed and when it will be allowed. And so we'll reevaluate those and post updates when we have it. In Rhode Island, we have entered phase 1, which is allowing, as if you live in Rhode Island, you know that we've been able to open up a few things, and some restaurants are soon going to be able to do outside dining, those kinds of things. But recreational facilities are still closed per the governor. Our camps are recreational facilities. That means our camps are still currently closed to any scouting activities or meetings or anything of that nature. And only employees that are required to, as part of their job to be on site, are allowed to be at our camps at this point in time. We look forward to all these restrictions easing, and we will do our very best, but we will follow the safety protocols as outlined by our local states and the CDC. So that is, that's your camp update, and that's what we know. And I ask your forbearance with all of us, because this will change over time, and we may have to alter our plans over time. And we hope, our best hope is we're able to loosen up some of these things and offer more than we're telling you right now. But I certainly can make no promises of that based on what we know today. I will ask any of the moderators if there's anything that you haven't been able to address in the questions that we need to address.
There's a couple questions. One is, if a scout has to go to work with an ACALA, will virtual day camp be achievable?
So if a scout has to go to work with a parent, is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
And so they would not be available during the daytime. That sounds like what they're saying, Joram. Can you help me with that one?
I'm sorry, the question is if they're going to.
It sounds like the scout would not be available during daytime hours.
It's likely that an at-home day camp would take place during the day, either in the morning or in the afternoon. So that might be difficult.
And then there's one, will camperships be offered?
Yes. Joram, do you want to address what we're thinking of in terms of fees and camperships?
Sure. So I mean, a definite fee hasn't been determined until we know what the whole program looks like. You know, we've seen some other councils roll out virtual programs at, you know, anywhere from 40 up into the hundreds for virtual camp. You know, I'm optimistic that we'll be under $100 for an at-home day camp. And there will be some limited camperships available, and we'll have information out there on you know, on how to apply for those once registration for camp opens.
Yeah, the fee will certainly be less than the normal day camp fee will be. It will be less than that, but we are still working on the budget and the program materials for it. Keeping in mind, we could do a very cheap day camp for you. We could do that, but we want to offer a high quality experience for your kids. And so our day camp probably will not be the cheapest option out there, but we're not going to do the Taj Mahal. We want to provide a quality experience, and we will be providing camperships for families who are in need of that.
Okay, there's one more question. Would this camp come in a box? Would camp in a box come at an additional cost to the family? And if so, is there any kind of thought as to how much it would be?
Nope. The camp in the box would be included with that camp fee. So it would be a flat rate.
Those were all the questions that were not able to be answered in the chat.
Thank you very much for, there's lots more content on Cub Scouting to be discussed in this roundtable. So please stay engaged with this. We got some great panelists and they've worked hard to prepare a great program for you tonight. I will turn it back to them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Up next, please, is Carl to talk about scouting for food.
There
There you go, Carl.
there we go. I'm Carl Pepino, and I'm the chairman of the Scouting for Food this year in the Narragansett Council. I've been in the scouting for 54 years, not bad for a 39-year-old. And I've participated in the Scouting for Food with my two boys and my daughter, my family, and off and on as a volunteer throughout the years. First of all, I want to thank you for your participation this past year, and of course, we're looking forward to seeing you this year. As you all know, during this pandemic, the food bank has been put in overdrive. 130,000 Rhode Islanders are out of work. The food bank has distributed 50% more food than they did this time last year. They haven't seen this amount of food going out since the recession of 2008. Also, the supermarkets have been backlogged in their distribution to the food bank because of the supply chain. How can you help? Well, first of all, Scouts last year collected over 164,000 pounds of food. We're the largest single contributor to the food bank. So you see how important you all are in helping with getting food for our Rhode Islanders. If you've never participated before, I would suggest you talk to your service area exec. They'll steer you in the right direction and you'll be able to help. As you can see this year, we need it more than ever. On behalf of the food bank and all the Rhode Islanders that you help, thank you. I'll turn it back over to Carol.
And Carol, if I could just add my thanks to Carl for his leadership of the food drive. And we work with, and Joram, I'll ask you to jump in here. We work with several food banks, not just the Rhode Island Food Bank, but several other food banks throughout our territory, including in Massachusetts and Pawcatuck, Connecticut. And so we have food that goes to, I think it's about a dozen food banks in the various communities, right?
It's more than that. I mean, it's several pantries in every community, like you said, from Pawcatuck right through Mass. So every corner of the council.
Great. Thanks, Carol. Thanks,
You're
Carl.
welcome. You're welcome.
All right, thank you all. I'll turn it over to Tom now for a presentation on Guide to Safe Scouting.
Tom, you're still muted. Hey, Tom, you're still muted.
All right, Patty, if you want to go ahead and talk about yeah, I can talk.
I'm back.
Oh, never mind, he's back. Go ahead, Tom.
All right, let me see if I can get started here again. You've got my punchline there showing on the screen.
Did you reshare your screen?
Reshare it.
Yes, please.
We back now?
Yes, sir.
All right, what I was talking to set up the talk about Guide to Safe Scouting, I wanted to start with the creativity of new people coming into this program. They're all nervous about, I can't do this. And we say, follow the book. And they start reading the book and say, oh, I can do this. And all of a sudden they say, well, if that's what they're trying to get me to do, I can do this and this and this. And all of a sudden we got a lot of creative people out there. Now I got to turn a little more serious and say, Guide to Safe Scouting kind of puts a boundary on this sort of situation. All this creativity that we unleash and work at here in Roundtable, I got to turn around and say, what's the surest way to get into trouble? Everybody knows if you don't follow the assembling directions on the wagon, it's not going to get built right. Sometimes my wife says, my problem is I don't ask for directions, so I get into trouble. But when we talk serious stuff here in scouting, the surest way to get into trouble, and I come from an insurance background, is to not follow procedures. Last thing you want to do is to have something happen. And you might remember Forrest Gump got credited for a t-shirt. It happens. You don't want to be sued or be called into some situation and have the lawyer on the other side say, is this the procedure for X, Y, and Z? And you have to say yes. And you know the follow-up question is, did you follow that procedure? And you say, no, not a good situation to be in. Got your attention now? Let's get into where most of these procedures are and where they start in the guide. That's the printing, the last physical copy, early 2019. You need to stress that when you go online, if you want to follow along, you can type into another tab and find the GSS in the health and safety area on national. This opening has two parts to it. One is saying that everything we do is to teach youth skills, let them have a chance to practice while we, the adults, have put a box around them where it's okay for them to fail. And that's what we're trying to do. Now, the highlighted part that I put in here, and I'll read it because it's that significant. No policy or procedure will replace the review and vigilance of you at the point of program execution. That's a wordy way of saying that everybody has trusted their youth and you've come up with an idea to do with it, and they're trusting you to make sure it works. So the whole thing about the Guide to Safe Scouting, it's back there going, if you've got a question on anything, let's go see what the current information is. And that's why I want to stress current, because the online copy of it has been updated a couple of times since that printed copy has been done. Now, it's one thing to say, all right, we clarified here in Chapter 8, Sea Scouts participation in climbing. Okay, there's some stuff. But when you go to Chapter 12 and you say, we replace the entire chapter on insects, now my curiosity's up. What in the world went on there? And of course, everybody should see in the appendix that your favorite checklist has been replaced entirely. You are using the event safety checklist, right? Moving on to the August, though, this is the change that kind of gives this document its historical slang name. It's the Book of No. there are prohibited activities along with unauthorized and restricted. This is where you go to find them. So anytime you're getting creative and you want to think about it, you come in here and start searching. I'm not going to read the whole table of contents. It's incredible the amount of topics that are in here. Personal health and safety is all over the place. How about caving, canyoneering? When you go online, the advantage of this, though, is you can do a search. Anybody know what orb activities are? And are they acceptable, prohibited? What's the restrictions on them? I don't see that in the table of contents right off, but if you start searching for your topic, you get to find them things. Lucky chapter 13 is where I need to finish up with. You can read over there at the bottom of the page. It's called incident reporting. Because that's if something does go wrong, you need to fill out this data collection tool, either turn it into the council or put it in online. We've got something called Risk Connect where you can fill it all out. But what is this all about? What's an incident? Let me read to you from a help thing that's there. Helps you talk through it. The first question, is someone hurt? And obviously you've done first aid and all that, and it's a yes, no. And if you say yes, the next question, and we hope we never have to say yes, is there a fatality or is it a catastrophic injury? And you go down the diagram and you go submit a report, document the incident. But what's a near miss? That's a whole different form here. And that goes back to the first question. Is someone hurt? You say no. Okay, why are we worried about the incident? Because somebody might have gotten hurt, hence the near miss. And the diagram goes down, is there property damage, blah, 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 blah. Bottom line is, to go back to the beginning, did you follow procedures? Yes, but this is a procedure. Report it right away. Don't delay. The last thing we can do to address an incident is not know about it. The sooner you can collect all these facts, turn it in manually, put it into the system, the sooner we can respond. Excuse me. And that's what following the procedures are here. This is where we also can learn lessons from. There's a whole thing in the online version where lessons learned are sorted into about 35 different topics and multiple incidents that actually happened to see what went wrong with that area. It was a swimming accident. XYZ happened, didn't happen, and it's incredible the amount of things you can pick up real fast that way. Please use this guide. Please refer to it often. You can't memorize it. That's not the idea. But if you've read through it and a little bell goes off whenever you plan an activity to go back and check something about it, you're doing good scouting, following the procedures, doing the best you can to keep everybody safe and going on. That's all I've got on that at this point. Any questions, James? Or
I did not see any in the chat.
excellent. Everybody's looking at it online and reading it. We'll leave it at that. Let's move on. Patty, I think you're going to talk about an area where checking the guide might come in handy every now and then. All yours, Patty.
Patty, you're good.
Okay. Hi, this is Patty Gom, Pack One Warwick, and my job tonight is to go over your pack planning conference. Now, this is normally done in June or July. We usually get around a table, have some food, and start sitting and talking about what we're going to do for the rest of the year, for the next year. Well, so what you want to do is get your Cub Master, your committee chair, your leaders, maybe your charter organization rep, and everyone gets together and you're going to discuss things. Well, you're going to get your calendars, get out your school calendar, get out your personal calendars, get out the Narragansett Council calendar and the church calendar or your organizational calendar, and maybe a blank calendar so we can start plugging dates in. What do you discuss at this pack planning conference? Well, this usually takes a couple of hours because you want to plan your basic outline for your whole year. So you want to say, well, we're going to start in September. So what day are we going to start? What day is our meetings going to be on? What time is our meetings going to be? Are they going to be the same as last year? Then you're going to say, well, we have a fall rally. What day in September do we want to do our fall rally? We've got to get that date in. You're also going to say, when is our pack meetings going to be? Are we going to have it at a certain day every single month? So you might want to plug that in. Then look at your different activities you have, like parties. In October, you're going to have a Halloween party, or are you going to have a regular pack meeting? Is it going to be a costume party? Is it going to be something different? You might want to start planning that out. Are you going to have a holiday party in December? Think about that. Think how you want to do it. Now, are you going to do popcorn? Of course, we're all going to do popcorn. Are you going to do a show and sell? If you're going to do a show and sell, you might want to start looking at your dates. Now, the summer's coming and we have that summertime award. So maybe you want to start making sure we can plan some activities for the summer. Then your special events during the year. Are you going to go Christmas caroling? Are you going to do community service projects? How about parades, council events, or Pinewood Derby? We really should set that date. Then in February, we have our blue and gold. So we have to decide what day we might want to have that. And we've got our fifth graders crossing over, so we want to pick out a date for that. And then in May or June, we're going to have our whole pack cross over to the next rank. Now, I know we're doing this in June or July, but if you don't put these specific dates down now, your year is going to get away from you. Now, I said in the beginning of this, we usually do this at somebody's house, have some food, bring our kids, and sit there for a couple hours, have some fun, and hash all this out. And then COVID-19 happened. And if you're on the meeting tonight, you all are now on a Zoom meeting. If you haven't done a Zoom meeting or haven't looked into it, look at Zoom, look at whatever online platform is good for you, because we better have this in our back pocket. We're assuming and we're hoping things in September can go somewhat back to normal where we can meet. But what if you can't? What if you have to do more online stuff instead of in person? These are things we didn't think of last year when my pack did our pack planning conference. And we planned all these wonderful things in March, April, and May, which went bang, gone. And then we had to hurry up and figure out how are we going to connect with our pack and how are we going to do things. So we had to, again, we were behind the 8 ball trying to get up in this virtual world. Do I like the virtual world? Not really. I'd much rather see each and every one of you as I'm talking to you instead of my phone screen that says pack planning conference. So this is our difficulty that we're going to have to overcome in our pack planning conference. We're going to have to really think outside the box. How are we going to do our recruitment if we can't have a big recruitment drive like we normally do? How are we going to set up our meetings? How are we going to do our den meetings? Maybe this summer is a time for you to get together with your leaders in your own Zoom meeting or sitting outside 6 feet apart and hashing it out on your front lawn. Maybe you need to do some training. Maybe you have to learn how to use it. Maybe instead of using the free Zoom or whatever, you might want to upgrade so you don't have a time limit. So you can have what they call breakout rooms. So your dens can go do things in their little breakout rooms with their parents and their den leaders. It's a whole different world that we weren't expecting when we did this in training in the fall, when they went over a PAC planning conference. And here we are now in May in a whole new world. So everything I talked about in the beginning of this, all those plans, still put them in. Well, we might not be able to do a parade, but maybe we could do something on the 4th of July or Memorial Day to decorate their yard. And then take pictures and post them online. Or maybe for 4th of July, they could do the same type of thing and have a big 4th of July cookout with their families and put some scouting things to it instead of going to the parades. Movies in the park aren't going to happen this year. I got that from Rocky Point. I got the email. But maybe you could take a projector outside and put a movie on your house. And maybe your neighbors could sit outside with you. And maybe there's scouts that live near you and they could come and we could sit 6 feet apart outside and watch a movie to do a PAC event. You really have to get creative now in this new world that they've given us to live in. I don't like living in this little box on my phone. This is not what I consider fun, but it's what I have to do. And now I have to make it fun for my kids. I have to make it fun for my parents. And that's what the leaders and the committee have to wrap their head around and realize that this is maybe what we're going to be looking at for a while. Or if we do get back into some semblance of normalcy and we're going along and everything's great, and we're having a great time, and bang, just like what happened in March, they may say, you can't meet for a while. Have this in your PAC planning conference, all of your backups. Your Pinewood Derby, you could still make your cars. And you could have the kids drop them off, set up your track like you normally did, and do a Facebook Live. And they could at least watch their cars being raced in a virtual Pinewood Derby. That's something that you might be able to do. I'm not quite sure how it's all going to work out. Christmas caroling. Sometimes you might go to a nursing home or an assisted living center and carol to the people there. Well, that might not be able to happen because they can't have visitors. But how about some old-fashioned caroling where you walk around your neighborhood and you go door to door and you stand outside in a small group and sing to the neighbors? Again, you're going to have to think outside the box. You're going to have to really give this some thought. And that's what you're going to do at your PAC planning conference sometime in June or July. Whether it's going to be a Zoom meeting like we're doing now, or if you decide you have a small group of 5, we might get up to 10, where you can sit outside 6 feet apart and yell to each other with your calendars so you can at least have some interaction. Not sure how it's going to work out. I'm not sure you know how it's going to work out. But these are things you have to think about. Again, we usually plan our campings in our PAC planning camp out conferences. When are we going to go camping? Is it going to be cabin? Is it going to be tent? We might have to think of a virtual camp out. Oh my goodness. But not all weekend. Maybe have them pop in and out and you can teach certain skills and they could be in their yard doing certain skills. Maybe you could take them on a virtual hike where you're on the hike on Facebook Live or on a Zoom meeting and showing the different things you would do if you were on a hike. These are all things that you're going to have to think about and really work out hard in your PAC planning conference with your alternative plans if the in-person plans can't go forward. And I so hope they do. Well, I think that's about it. It's really hard when is there any questions coming through the Q&A?
I did not see any in chat or Q&A.
Then I guess I did a pretty good job. If you do have questions, they do pop up. I'm sure we can handle them sometime later on. This would normally go a lot more if I could see you and we could have some interactions. But since I can't, I covered everything that I sat down to talk about. So with that, I can hand it off to a little early to Bob DeFelice, and he's going to talk to you about training. Hi, Bob.
Excellent. Thank you, Patty. Great suggestions on the planning a great PAC program. So that's totally awesome. So we're going to take some time to talk about training. And So the first thing I want to talk about is actually a really important topic, right? So there is nothing more important in scouting than protecting the youth that are in our program. And the number one way to protect the youth in our program is to make sure that all our adult leaders have completed youth protection training. So as many of you know, 2 years ago, there was a big update to that program, and everyone across the nation had to complete youth protection training all over again. Well, now we're 2 years later, and guess what? Almost the entire council now has to complete youth protection training again. So if you are burned out of Amazon Prime videos and burned out of Netflix, you can complete youth protection training online in 40 minutes. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, I did it. It was a piece of cake. Knock it out, because we're going to be out of this sooner than later, and you're going to be wanting to get outside. So take some time and let's check off the youth protection box, okay? So next month when I do my monthly reporting, I'd love to see huge increase in numbers of people completing youth protection. And it's great to finish it early. You might say, well, my youth protection doesn't expire until September. That's okay. Complete it now. You're going to be good to go. Complete it when you've got the chance to do it and just get it taken care of. 40 minutes, very, very easy. So do that for me. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Then after you've done that, if you are not trained for the position that you hold, now is a great time to get that training completed. You can get trained for your position online via scouting. And if someone could advance the slide to the next slide there, it's got a little detail. Ooh, that's really small, but that's okay. So if you are not trained for your position, you can do this online too at my.scouting. So to be trained as a chartered org rep, you can do this in 50 minutes, okay? So a chartered organization rep can be fully trained for their position in 15 minutes just by simply logging in and taking the online course. If you are the committee chair, you can become completely trained in 2 hours. And what's nice about the committee chair position and the other remaining positions is you can do this in sections. So you're not doing it in 1 2-hour stint. You can do it in half-hour modules. You don't have to do it all in one setting. So maybe over the course of a week, you can become fully trained. The same with the Cub Master and Den Leader position. You can become trained for your position in 2 hours. Again, not in all one setting. There's 3 or 4 modules. You can sit down, do it in very consumable bites, finish that training online, and you're going to be good to go. And now if you're a Scout Master, an Assistant Scout Master, or a crew advisor, well, that's a little bit harder, and you can do that in 3 hours, all right? So now that we're sort of in this physical distancing world and doing a lot of stuff online, if you're not trained for your position, it's a great time to get that done. Some of the benefits of training, you'll have a better program. So knowing how to conduct the program and run the program, you're going to be in good shape. You're going to have a better program. You're going to attract people and attract family and youth to your program. And you'll find out that potentially you're doing too much work, right? That there are other positions in the unit that can do activities, perform functions, and you'll learn how to delegate that. So you're actually doing less work and engaging more of your family. So one of the things I do want to point out is, this is the online training for your position, right? So for example, Scout Master and Cub Master, you have some outdoor components, via Baloo and IOLS and such. But certainly get the classroom work done, right? Get it done while you're home. So very, very important. And then when you're looking at your unit, right? Sort of the 1, 2, 3 of training. And of course, our goal is to have all registered volunteers to be fully trained, right? But sometimes that is a big tough goal to achieve. So how do you get there? 1, 2, 3. First, let's start with the top 3 leaders. Set the example for all your other volunteers. The unit leader, the committee chair, and the chartered organization rep. Get trained, set the example, show people how easy it is. Then take the next step. And then anyone who has direct youth contact, your den leaders, your assistant scoutmasters, get them to be trained. And then that's sort of your next step. And now you've got a bigger group of people that are trained. And then your ultimate goal is to have all adult leaders trained. This is all doable, very, very achievable, not hard to do. And it all has benefits for your unit. So really, really important to get that done. The other thing I'd like to tell you is we are looking at some Zoom virtual training coming to you in June. So we're going to start with the Cub Scout training and offering that up as a virtual training. And that will be offered over 3 different Zoom meeting nights over 3 weeks. So as we get the details finalized on that, you'll see that on the council Facebook pages and various email updates. And then my final thought here is I'm very happy to announce is that Narragansett Council has been approved for a wood badge course for 2021. So I got a couple of dates for you to mark in your calendar. So April 23rd through the 25th is the first weekend of Wood Badge 2021. And the second weekend is May 15th through the 16th. And Wood Badge is the #1 adult leader training class, right? And one of the things I'd like to do is dispel the myths around Wood Badge, okay? So you do not have to be a Scoutmaster for 15 years to take Wood Badge. You don't have to be a Cub Master for 15 years to take Wood Badge. In fact, if you're a Cub Master and you're brand new, you're new to the scouting program, this is actually the best time to take Wood Badge. You will get the most out of the training and be able to apply what you learn in Wood Badge to your scouting program and actually really increase the value and benefit to the youth in your unit. So prior to what other people may have said, oh, you've got to have lots of experience to do Wood Badge. You've got to have all this scouting background. That is totally not true. In fact, we want young volunteers who do not have long history with scouting to actually complete the Wood Badge course. And our goal is to have a completely full course. I think in the next week or so, you're going to see online signups be available, and you'll start to see information through the Roundtable and various council communications. So very excited about that. So with that, I will turn the mic back over to Carol.
Hey, Bob, this is Tiffany. Before you do that, we've got a couple questions.
Sure.
Will there be virtual options for Baloo and potentially IOLS?
So that is an excellent, excellent question. And unfortunately, there will not. Because the syllabus for both of those trainings have very important outdoor components. The national office have said those courses need to be run as they are directed in the syllabus. So unfortunately for both Baloo and IOLS, there will not be an online option.
And Bob, can you say those Wood Badge dates just one more time?
You betcha. So the first weekend for Wood Badge is April 23rd to the 25th. So April 23rd to the 25th. And then the second weekend is May 15th through the 16th. So in the new Wood Badge, so I'll maybe for some people who are familiar with the Wood Badge program, this is the new Wood Badge program. So it's actually 1 day shorter, right? So the old program was 2 3-day weekends. The new program is 1 3-day weekend and then a 2-day weekend. So again, the date's April 23rd to the 25th. That's the 3-day weekend. And then May 15th and 16th and that is the 2-day weekend.
And do we know where Wood Badge is going to be held?
So we're finalizing the camp arrangements for that. So we will see some info on that shortly. Certainly, when we get the sign up there, we will you'll see the camps that will be held at.
And those are all of the questions that we have so far.
Awesome, great questions, and so Carol, right back at you.
All right, we're going to go right on to Roger Carden, who's going to speak on membership.
I'm here. I had my mic on, but all of a sudden the screen is blank. So therefore I don't have a screen, but I can still speak. Can you hear me, somebody?
We can hear you and see you, Roger, loud and clear.
Oh, that's nice. Why don't I see myself on my own screen then?
That is a great question.
Okay.
You look like you're in the lovely Rockies, though.
Well, it is somewhat, but the Canadian Rockies. Okay, if my slides are up there, I can't determine that. And for the current 60 participants that are out there, it's membership. But the first announcement for this evening with that first slide is that our Boom virtual event will be held virtually, and that will be on Wednesday, June 10th, either beginning at 7 or 6:30. Besides the usual membership breakout virtual sessions, we definitely will have popcorn information as well, and perhaps other updated information that we were not able to cover this evening earlier. Patty Gome covered quite a bit of the virtual meetings and contacts that we hope in membership you are having. Without your virtual contacts or your attempts at reaching out to your scouts and to your registered adults, they're going to think that you are out of sight and out of mind. So virtual contacts somehow are being done by hopefully all of you that are representing units tonight. And based on that, before my screen went blank, it seemed that we had 60 of you. And therefore, my next slide simply asks, what is it that you are doing to reach out to your scouts and to the scouters that you have registered with your troop? If you wish to share that virtual contact with us, how to, or what are some of the great things you've achieved with your scouts virtually? Or if there is still no possibility of you reaching out virtually, please share that with us, so one of us listed here will contact you to assist you in doing that. Either do that in the Q&A part or in a chat to share. If some of you have questions with regards to membership, you may ask them, and James, Tiffany, or Carol will screen which one that I would be read and then will be answered. So my presentation thus far is all done, and it exceeds my amount of time.
So just a few that I saw pop up in the chat. Bonnie out of Pack 24 New Bedford says that they are hosting weekly Zoom meetings and activities. That's great.
If there are none that you see, James, go ahead and introduce the next speaker, the next presenter, which I believe is Carol Feeney.
All right. Thank you all. I have my commissioner's minute now. I found this piece that I thought was very appropriate for the time that we're going through right now. It's about attitude. It says, words could never adequately convey how great the impact our attitude can have on our lives. In many respects, life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we respond to it. One of the most significant decisions we can make on a day-to-day basis is our choice of attitude. Attitude can keep us going or cripple our progress. It's our attitude that either fuels our fire or assaults our hope. When our attitudes are right, there's no barrier too wide, no valley too deep, no dream too extreme, and no challenge too great. And everything I heard tonight was the fantastic attitude that all of our Scouters have right now about keeping this program alive and active and thriving. I see that from the Scouts to the volunteers up to the professionals. And I want to thank everybody for having a great attitude. And with this attitude, we'll keep this program going and we'll get through this and get back to it at some point. I want to thank everybody. And does any of the other staff have any questions or things to add at this point in time? All right, it doesn't look like anybody else has anything to add. I think they're going to keep the chat open for a couple more minutes in case you have questions, but that will conclude our virtual Cub Roundtable for May. Thank you all for attending.
Have a good night.
Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.